Hey everyone, I want to talk about a very important topic to me, and that is why you don't need to suffer in silence. Now, me, Rob, Moment, and Phil, we're talking about, although we work all over the world, it's incredible to think about how many countries we work with, right? I've worked all over Europe, every country in Europe. I can't think of one I haven't worked with. My favorite is the first time I worked with Portugal. And I was like, oh, how's living in South America? They're like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I am. I'm definitely dumb. It's not in South America. Where's Portugal again? It was just like your typical no clue about geology or geography, not geology. Geology is study of the earth. Geography. See what I mean? No fucking clue. So, not my specialty. And, when you work with New Zealand and Australia, which I work with those countries a lot, the time zone difference, but I always say it doesn't matter if it's Eastern Europe, down under, mate. Over in Australia, mate. Get your sunnies, mate. I've been practicing that accent for a while, which makes them joke for my American self. Obviously, ever over America, all the way to Alaska, all the way to Hawaii, etc. One thing I could say is culture, ethnicity, what you look like, what you believe in, whether you're an atheist, agnostic, Christian, Muslim, Catholic, people will suffer in silence. And there's no need to suffer in silence. I'm here to tell you that I thought I was tougher than my OCD. And that bravado, I'm from New Jersey, I come from that Italian, how you doing? I'm not going to talk about it, keep my head down. Because that's how most people operate in my area, that kind of tri-state, New Jersey, New York. My mom's from Staten Island, lived in Brooklyn as well. Very much like, hey, my Uncle Jerry, who I wish I got to know better, blue jeans tucked in, guinea tea with a gold chain, slick back hair. Hey, Nicholas. Like, no one talks about their problems. Everyone just shut it, boom. And there is some truth in that when it comes to not venting and reassurance seeking, but it's just not what's needed. It's what's needed is a balanced approach for asking for help. And not many things can almost bring tears to my eyes in this one. That I felt it right there, but I did myself a major disservice because I was so afraid of asking for help my whole life. I always thought I wasn't a people pleaser, and I was in a different way. I was a people pleaser, and I wanted people to think I was the man, and I was tough. And I work harder now than I probably ever have, but I don't tell people really about that, or unless they ask, and I kind of don't give them a lot of details because there's no need. It's just something I enjoy doing, but it wasn't like that before. I had a hard time saying no. Now, if people ask me to do things that I don't want to do, I just say no. Why? Now let's go do that. My time is valuable like yours, and just what I want to do. I have a very structured, tightly knit schedule with everything we do at OC Recovery all day. Hours and hours and hours and hours a day, the content. Then, my chiropractic with my wife, spending time with my wife, hiking. I don't want to engage in a lot of small talk all the time, which I do. I love myself some good small talk, someone recently may ask, hey, let's go do this for a day during the week. Well, no, I got other obligations I want to do. It's not that I don't take time off, but so I really struggle with that. And I wanted people to know that I was always the guy that was like, oh, he's always going all in. And because I came from that conditional way in many ways. It's one of the reasons I always wore really tight clothes. I always wear super uptight here clothes, especially when I was on anabolic steroids, because I wanted everyone to look at me. I like the approval. I like the attention. And and I never wanted anyone to know that I was struggling. After my dad died, I lost my dad. This is a bigger intro than I normally do. I lost my dad, then I lost my aunt, my mom's only siblings. My mom lost her husband. Even though they were separated, they weren't divorced, and they were still good friends. Then she lost her only sibling 3 months later, April, May, June. And then my dog died a couple months later. My mom slept with in the bed for 10 years. Lily, our little black demon. She was a little Shih Tzu terrier. Love that dog. Hated everyone. You think Daisy, my pit bull, that dog couldn't hurt a fly. That little Shih Tzu terrier, that thing will rip your Achilles tendon right out of your legs. I think bit so many people. Thankfully, their bites aren't nearly as... If Daisy bites you in the arm, you're fucked. And she's a smaller pit bull compared to some of the big blue-nosed pits I've seen. So when I buried all that, then I was in grad school, and then I thought I was the man, and then was like, oh, I'm the smartest, I'm cooler than everyone, I lied all the time. A lot of my lying, when I think about how much I lied about everything. Anything you can lie about, like I've said, I've lied about. How many women I've been with, how smart I was, my accolades, my gym lifts, the cars I've had. I remember even lying one time to someone when I was like 18 years old to get sympathy that my dad had died of cancer when I worked at TGI Fridays, which was like, oh my God, it's such a habit. Based off the fear of rejection, and then lying becomes a habit, because the one thing I really like what David Goggins says about lying is when you're trying to change your lying, it's vulnerable, which is uncomfortable, and it's hard to change that. So, but humans will lie. I mean, people will lie. When you hear a lot of stuff, honesty is 100% the best policy. Not always. Like if your wife came down, I use this example, and you're going to an event, and she's in a dress that you don't particularly like, and she says, "Hey, babe, you like my dress?" You're not going to be like, I mean, you could. Good luck. For the married folks out there or relationship folks, I really don't like the way that sits over your love handles. It kind of like sticks out like a muffin top. I don't really like that. You have a little dip right there, like just doesn't look good. You look fat. By the way, like what's going on with this like chin fat you got going on there? No, you're not going to say that, whether you think it or not. It was funny because yesterday we were driving in the car, and ever since I took anabolic steroids, when I took anabolic steroids, thankfully I have like lighter hair, but when I took anabolic steroids, I started growing hair like crazy. It just never turned off, even though I haven't taken anabolics in 10 years. So like my back hair, it's so hard to see, but it's been to a point where it's been I'm not exaggerating, like 2.5 to 3 inches long. Like it's a full coat. And Erica was like, "Oh my God, you're getting like ear hair now." And she says to me yesterday, "Oh my gosh." I was like, I told her, I was like, I shave it and it comes right back. I do. I'm getting there with my little thing, like, and it just comes right back. So it's all the things. Like I got a couple of long ones up here too. I'll be in like I'll be looking in the mirror. I'm like, what the fucking, was that an antenna? I was like, what, am I gonna get service off that thing? This is just things that people deal with, and they're so afraid because they want people to think that they're always okay and they're always in the right mindset. And that wasn't the case. I struggled severely with rejection, and I'm much more comfortable with rejection now. I'm much more comfortable with people not respecting me. I don't believe in boundaries per se in the usual sense. I set boundaries, but not in the way that people usually talk about in social media. So that was the longest intro I've ever done, but we're not even really doing. But look for the WhatsApp link down below with Phil if you want to talk. So let's talk about some realities about OCD. Okay, OCD is one of the most serious mental health disorders on earth when you're locked. When you're not locked and your fear is down, it's meaningless. It will pop up from time to time, more than likely, because it is a disorder, more than likely genetic. If OCD wasn't genetic, the one thing I like to say is what fuels obsessive compulsive disorder is strong irrational beliefs. Last time I checked, most people hold their values and their belief very rigidly, which means everyone on earth would have chronic OCD. Now, 2% of the population might have the obsessive compulsive disorder gene, just like 2% of the population, I believe, has the schizophrenic gene. But if you go to a football stadium with 50,000 people, 2% of the people there, what is that? What's 1% would be a 500, right? So what, 1,000, 2,000? Oh God, I'm not good with this type of math. Okay, let's just say 2,000 people are not schizophrenically manic, all right? So it's not as simple as that. So people say that on social media to make you feel, not alone. You are alone in the sense that it doesn't matter what fears you have because the beliefs are your beliefs and you have to apply the principles, but you're not alone in the sense that there's a community. But chronic OCD suffering is not as common as you think. I mean, there's probably a couple 100,000 people in America with chronic OCD suffering, but compared to the 350 million, it's not, 2%. That would be 2, 4, 6, 7 million people do not have chronic OCD in the United States of America. I put my whole life on that. I mean, I can't prove that, but the chances are so low. They might have obsessive compulsive mild or obsessive compulsive tendencies. So what people will do is they convince themselves that what they do is normal. I work with people who have said to me, "Oh, yeah, I've always had those weird tweaks or twerks or quirks. It could be twerks, could be twerking. Who fucking knows?" But quirks. I can't speak this morning. Quirks, is it quirks? It's quirks, isn't it right? Like a weird quirk. But yes, they have weird things that they do, and they normalize those things, and they say, "This is what I have. This is what I do." And I remember one time I was working with someone that I just thought it was odd that I wash my hands 150 times a day. If they wash this, I work with them now. I said, no, that's definitely not a healthy behavior. I don't use the word normal because normality is what society deems as normal. There's really no such thing as normal. You go to a cannibal tribe, they think eating people is normal. I don't think eating people is particularly normal, but I think people have done it. if you go to a war and your goal is to kill the enemy, murder is normal. It's normalized. It's actually celebrated. But if you murder people in society, like in a shooting or something, you're not considered a hero. So context matters a lot in that regard. So it's understandable why people don't want to reach out for help, because I've seen the saddest cases. I've worked with very good-looking women where doctors and family members have said to them, word for word, you don't really look like you have a lot to complain about. Sad, but reality and understandable, because OCD is invisible. Men, I work with men that beautiful. I mean, straight up beautiful, good-looking men. Everything from a physical perspective, they're just in good shape and great jobs. They might make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, millions of dollars a year. Work with people who are very, very successful, and they're a train wreck, and they're so afraid of rejection. And then what happens is, another reason why people are afraid to reach out is because they have convinced themselves that they're struggling. The way they've built their structure and their habits is actually why they're successful. I had a call like this last week. I wouldn't have been as successful as I am, let's say the person owned a big business or multiple rental properties, if it wasn't for my rigid routine. I say, you actually don't know that. Because what if you didn't do that and you would have owned 3 times as much real estate? And then they go, and you'll never know that, but just to put the thought out there. It's like another good one. This is a little bit off topic, but it is important to talk about from like a rejection standpoint. You hear a lot of people, there's some really big YouTube channels based around relationship advice, which are pretty much, they're bad. Like they're really bad. They're garbage advice. Nice individuals, well-intentioned, but just not good advice. Where they say like the ultimate goal is to have, I love using this one. I use this with people and they go, holy shit, I've never thought about it like that. They say the ultimate goal is to have a partner with low numbers. Well, what if the partner that you're now married to is only had one sexual partner, you have sex with them, you're very good in the bedroom, and that person goes, oh shit, this is what good sex is like? I gotta get more of this from different people. And they go out there and cheat. People cheat all the time. Or you have a girl who maybe was very big in the adult industry or OnlyFans. I've worked with multiple in that profession. And then she meets a guy and she says to the guy, look, this is what I've done. I've slept with 1,500 people and I'm sick of being abused and used, spatting on and talking like shit. And I will do everything to be loyal to you. Well, that's a little bit different than the first case. So be very careful of absolutes. It's very difficult to think like this. I would have never thought like this if I didn't have OCD, so I can't hold this against anyone. When I look at my future, my old self, I can't have any animosity towards the 1989 to 2019 Nick, because he didn't know any better. Just this is why I think Albert Ellis' stuff should be taught in school. Most relationship problems come from the inability, as Rob and I like to say. There's a famous quote, most of the world's problems come from the inability to sit still or sit in a quiet room. Relationships are no different. I'm not saying you have to stay in a relationship. And I'm not saying that monogamy in that is better than being polyamorous and sleeping around. Each one has pros and cons. Sometimes more or less depending on the person and circumstance. So this is why people don't reach out. All those things you just said, because rejection, I want to live this life. Think about someone who has harm OCD, but then maybe they look at my videos and they watch me and they see like a bravado man, an outgoing guy, and then maybe they're part of the gay community and they're like, I don't want to reach out to him. He doesn't seem like he would be able to connect with me. I'm going to toot my own horn once because I don't really do that. There are not many better communicators than I am. I might not speak properly all the time, but I have a unique way to make people feel comfortable and make them laugh. And I've had that gift from my father because I was modeled after that. I'm very good at accepting everyone. I have friends all over the spectrum. I have people who are trans, people who are all the way on the left, all the way to the right, upside down, conservative, polyamorous, monogamous, any color of skin, any religious background, and I can make everyone laugh. It's something I'm very good at. And I'm good at operating my tone and my jokes towards the culture I'm working with. The way that people respond in India is very different than the way people respond in, say, New Zealand, or very different than where I come from. When I work with a New Jersey, New Yorker, I could just let that shit loose. Like, it is loose. But if I'm working with someone from, maybe the Bible Belt area of Tennessee, and they're much more Christian-based, I can redirect that because that's important. connecting with someone and being able to get them to be open comes down to knowing your audience very, very well. And I've been speaking long enough and doing YouTube videos and making content and doing webinars where it's very easy to see why people are very bad communicators. It's a very obvious thing without being able to read a room, etc. And that is a skill. I think everyone can work on that, but I have a natural ability for that, I think a little bit better than most. And that's why I love working with people. So don't be afraid to come in and work with any of us. We're all the same way. We're not scary. We don't bite. You know, I might make fun of you a little bit and give you exposures you don't want to hear, but that's what I like to do. So please reach out. We can all help. You know, and again, I usually don't toot my own horn in that way, but the reason why I said that is because I know a lot of you are suffering in silence. And I've had people say to me, they were like, hey, look, I can think of one person I'm working with now. Where they say, hey, I watched your videos. I know you don't believe in God. I'm a very religious person. Is that going to get in the way? And I said, no, absolutely not. I was like, not one bit. And now we've had like 4 calls, and the calls have been absolutely amazing. Hopefully to that person. We joke around, we laugh, and we focus on this particular person's fears. So thank you so much for watching. Please reach out. You don't have to suffer in silence. Let me know what you think. Remember the WhatsApp link down below. You could direct message Phil, get you in right away. We have those webinars at 8:30 p.m. that can also get you in the WhatsApp groups, and hope to hear from you soon. Have a good one, everyone.